Hello everybody, I'm going to talk about emotions and emotions in practice. Everybody talks about emotion and about the emotional aspects. Every day, everybody is having some or the other kind of experience of emotions. I'm not going to talk about what is there in the books, but I'm going to talk about what is there in the practice and how does emotions help, what are emotions, how does it originate, and what does it do, and why it is important to know what emotion is. Therefore, to understand what is emotion, emotion is something that is generated out of some kind of an incident, some kind of an happening that has occurred, good or bad, and which leads to generation of a particular kind of feelings. So feelings are the first thing which gets originated. Now what does the feelings do? Feelings can be of positive in nature, feelings can be negative in nature. The positive feelings give rise is coming out from the positive thoughts. From the same incident, a feeling that is generated could be positive and negative both. Now, it depends on the person. It depends on whether the person's psychology is positive or negative, and depending on the positive or the negative psychology, the feelings get generated. If the positive feelings are generated, the outcome, the result will be happiness. And if the negative feelings are generated, the result and the outcome of such generation of feelings will be unhappiness. Starting from happiness and happiness, it is important to understand that we are all wanting to be happy. And everybody's goal of life is to remain happy and to be happy for the maximum extent of time. But it doesn't happen. Why it doesn't happen? It doesn't happen because there are many things which comes in between. The mind does not remain in a particular single state all the time. Why it doesn't remain in a single state all the time? Because it has different levels of activation. The mind could be positively activated, the mind could be negatively activated, and similarly positively unactivated or negatively unactivated. A positively activated mind, the feelings will something like happiness, but this actually oscillates. If we take a bigger picture of this positively and negatively activated state of the mind, then it is important that we understand this positively and negatively activated state of the mind little differently, and that is बंद किया. We can divide the mind into 4 different quadrants. One with a positively activated, other negatively activated, positively unactivated and negatively unactivated. At the junction of this positively activated and negatively activated state is a state known as astonished. Astonished is a state which is coming out from the entry of some kind of a fear because of some kind of an shocked, some bad news, shocked, some happy news coming out, and having a positive mind and not expected is also a kind of a shock. So astonished can lead towards this and it can lead towards this. Completely in a state of sadness, not expected that something good can happen and something good suddenly happens, it moves towards a positively activated and the cheerfulness comes. On the contrary, if there is an expectation for something good to happen and instead of something good to happen, something bad happens and suddenly it happens without any prior information, then moves into a state of astonished. This from the positively activated it moves to a state of astonished, which is a junction between the positively and negatively activated state. And after this astonishment, if that is seen to be having some kind of a permanence, then a state of fearfulness. So fearfulness is a state which is coming out from a negatively activated state of the mind. Therefore, if you are seeing a person in a state of fearfulness, then that means the person's mind has become totally negatively activated. In a state of negatively activated, because fearfulness is also giving rise to some kind of a threat to self. So to prevent, to defense mechanism starts and the person becomes violent, throwing things, aggressive, reactive. Now, therefore, violence, aggressiveness, reactiveness is a offshoot of an emotionally fearful state of mind coming out from a negatively activated state of the mind. Now, these phenomenon doesn't last for a very long time, maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour at the most. Then you keep quiet and you start moving gradually from negatively activated state to a negatively unactivated state. So the activation level has declined and moved to the negatively activated, unactivated state, and that makes you sad because the violence has hurt somebody else. This aggressiveness has hurt something else. The reaction has hurt somebody else. The moment it has hurt someone else, it has hurt the other one. If it has hurt the other one and you have hurt the other one for a longer time, then you're not likely, your basic nature will not, individual's basic nature does not permit that, and the person moves straight away from this to a quiet state, that is the mind becomes negatively unactivated and becomes sad. Staying here for some time, and once the whole negatively activated has come totally to the negatively unactivated state, then it's a state of boredom. It becomes bored. Staying in the 3 states, fearfulness, sad and bored, for a prolonged period of time, puts a lot of stress, tension, strain, and what happens finally, that it sometimes it becomes unbearable. Stress could create a distress, which is dysfunctional, which is harmful, and creates a lot of disturbance in the human both body and mind. And therefore, after a certain time, when no option, then the mind starts moving towards from negatively unactivated state to a positively unactivated state, and at the junction of it is a state known as tranquility. Even when one goes to a doctor for coming out from this kind of a situation of stress, tension, and distress for a long time, the tranquilizer is given, and tranquilizers keeps the person cool, calm, quiet. Once the movement is moved totally towards the positively unactivated state, then it feeling emotional content, self-contented, that is all right, okay, perfect, no issues, cool, calm, quiet again. And gradually, once the shift is done from the negative side to the positive side, then from unactivation it moves towards an activated state. At the junction of it is cheerfulness, and this is not cheerfulness, is elated. Elated is an extreme state of joy, pleasure, and happiness. Now, the important thing is that this whole cycle is one can see that different kinds of emotions are coming. So, what we need to do? We need to do is that we have to, if our goal is happiness, cheerfulness, then we have to shift ourselves from negatively activated to this. Then only we will be in three states, that is relatedness, happiness, cheerfulness, and content. Now, there could be different combinations. If we say to what percentage of time a person individual is staying during 24 hours a day, if the state is fearfulness, sad, bored, in these three states spending time more than 60-70% of the time, that means the person will be highly reactive, violent, volatile, etc. Now, to come out from this and to shift toward this is a Herculean task, and a rigorous efforts have to be made to shift from the negatively activated state of the mind to the positive one. We must understand that once this kind of a phenomenon is happening, like violence, aggressiveness, reactiveness, then it is for sure that the mind has become negatively activated. And as an intelligent person, you must understand that your mind is negatively activated. It is going to harm you more than it will harm the other one. And once it harms the other one, it is okay. But don't harm yourself. It is more dangerous. Therefore, to prevent yourself, not to prevent the harm of others, what you do is that you shift from negatively activated to the positively activated. What will help you? What will help you is that you become more observant and introspective. Think for a while. What are you doing? The moment you move into the introspection, you will find that you are there probably somewhere at the fault, and you need to keep quiet. You need to slow down and shift from negatively activated state to the positively activated state. How do you manage the fear? If the cause is the fear, if the cause of the emotion is fear, different kinds of emotions, negative emotions coming out, like bored, sad, astonished, etc., then it is because of the negative fear. And fear is going to create a problem. So what is that fear? That needs to be understood. And that is a thing which we can talk a little later. Thank you.